Thanks all for joining us today for our Synergy webinar. Level up your video with our very own Brittany Dunn. It's good to see everybody. Hey, give it up for Brittany. Anyway, thanks for being here. My name is David Kennedy. I do media and tech for the Oregon Ministry Network. And this webinar, I have my script here. Stay with me. This webinar is a resource of Synergy that exists to provide expert admin resources and services. Wow, expert. So church leaders can minister to the people of their church and community. We have our director of Synergy, Jeremy Anderson, is on the call with us. Hey, Jeremy, give a shout out.
Thanks, David. I'm pleased to see so many faces on here today. This has been a plan in the making for at least 5 years to get Synergy up and running. And for the last 2 years, we've been doing accounting well. And this year we wanted to start dabbling in social media, website, kind of IT media. So I'm just pleased to know that David and Brittany are taking this and launching it and starting to get some traction and see what you guys are interested in.
Awesome. A couple things as we get started. Brittany will present this morning, and after she is done presenting, there will be a time for Q&A. So if you have questions that come up while she's presenting, and then later on, there will be a chance for some questions. You can send those questions. You can unmute yourself and ask them when it comes time, or you can drop them in the chat, and either way, we'll do our best to cover those. We are recording today's call, and we'll have plans to share it when we're done, hopefully in the next week or two. We want to let you know that there's going to be one more webinar in 2023, and it's going to be in the evening, September 19th at 6 o'clock. And I am going to be leading a conversation titled Elevate Your Content with AI Tools. So we're just going to be looking at artificial intelligence tools and things like that. So that's going to be in September, and it's going to be a change up in the evening at 6 o'clock on a Tuesday night. So with that, let me introduce Brittany. Brittany Dunn is the social media specialist for the Oregon Ministry Network. She oversees our accounts, including Gen Now Ministries. She also leads Oyama, the Oregon Youth Alive Ministry Academy, with her husband, Damien. Today, like I said, she's going to be leading a webinar titled Level Up Your Video. And with that, hey, give it up for Brittany. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Thanks guys for being here. This is really cool to have you all here in the middle of summer. And yeah, so I'm excited today. Like David said, I am doing the social media for the network, and really I kind of went into this knowing like, okay, everybody here kind of understands like the importance of social media. If that is a conversation you want to have about why social media and why I think churches should be doing social media and all the things, I'm totally ready to and willing to have that conversation, something I'm super passionate about. But for the purposes of today, I wanted to kind of just like jump right in with the video stuff so that we can do a lot of kind of like why video, how video, and then some like helpful like ideas and tips towards the end. And then if you guys have any questions, like David said, if you have questions, you can put in the chat so you don't forget them. And then we can answer them towards the end, unless you're like, I really need this. And I think there's like even like a little hand you can raise, and yeah. So, so video. So we wanted to do an entire Synergy webinar just on video, because social media is really already headed in that direction. If you haven't noticed, TikTok blew up during COVID and kind of spurred on this short form video craze that has taken over pretty much all of the social medias, including Twitter, which isn't even like a video platform. And so, I mean, even like TikTok like dictates what's on the radio now. I mean, like totally random songs from like the 80s and stuff are like back in popularity, and like high schoolers know them and things like that because of the popularity of these of TikTok. So it's kind of dictated everything. And so I think the church has done a pretty good job of jumping on that trend. And when I say jumping on the trend, I'm not like saying, oh, every single trend that happens on social media, do we need to hop on? Because I don't think that is necessarily true. But the video one, I think, is one that has shown so far that it's here to stay, that the reach is really heavy, which means that we can reach both more of our Christian family, but also non-Christian family. And it's something that I think churches can do really easily with what we're already doing. And when I say churches, it's kind of all encompassing: churches, ministries, Christians, just so like it's kind of the whole thing. So I want to give you a couple reasons why before we get going, why video. Number one, video right now is prioritized by the algorithm heavily. And by what that means is that Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, they will all do the work for you of getting your video out there, and you literally don't have to do anything except post it. They want you to post videos so badly that they're even paying people. So like I have the most stupid, it's the Trailblazers account. I have like 10,000 followers. It's like tiny, but I literally get paid to post reels of the Trailblazers. And I mean, I'm not a millionaire, right? It's like I got $50 one month, type of thing. But that like little tiny account I don't even think the Trailblazers know I exist. And they're paying me $50 to like post reels because that's how much they're wanting to incentivize this for people. So the algorithm, all these companies will do the work for you. And so that makes it easier on you as somebody who's busy within ministry, with your life. This, like, you can kind of sit back and just do what you want to do. They're also really cheap and easy to produce. Literally, you need a smartphone, and most people have those. You can make any kind of video pretty much with a smartphone, one that has pictures, one that has your face, one that's recording anything outside. Like, it doesn't have to be long. A lot of the short form video that's really popular is like between 10 and 30 seconds. So it can be completely free to make. The apps will do a lot of the work for you, which we'll get into, but you don't even need any outside apps, and it's super easy. Third reason why video is it's easy to watch and share. So as people are scrolling social media, which there's tons of statistics that you can see of how much time people are spending on social media and scrolling. There's actually a report that found that more people, they're at twice the rate, will share a video on their like story or on their Facebook than any other form of content. So any graphic, any picture, anything like that, they're twice as likely to share it if it's a video. So I don't know if you like, I feel like on Instagram, I'm mostly looking like through the stories, and I feel like probably about half or more of what I'm going through in the stories is no longer necessarily people's like native like pictures that they've taken and then they've posted their story, but it's like a reel that they're sharing. And I even find myself doing that too. So people will find like a snippet of a sermon or a sports highlight or something like that, and they'll even like a cute one or a meme, and they'll share it to their story. And it's just right now what people are kind of gravitating towards as far as that goes. And then the last thing that I wanted to say about why video is it's really like kind of the preferred method for how to learn things. There's a report that said that 73% of consumers prefer to watch short form video when learning about a new product or a service. And people on average watch 17 hours a week of video content across social media platforms. That can also include YouTube. So it's something that like, if you're going to go and be like, how do I change a tire? How do I do this? How do I cook pasta? How do I, whatever? Like a lot of times people are going straight to video. It's visual. It's easy for them to like learn. They can fast forward, they can go back, and they're not having to like, read something or scroll through tons of ads and things like that. Like they're just going straight to video. So those are just some of the reasons why I was like, why are we doing video? Why is this important? And David and Jeremy and I were all talking about like, what do we want to do for our Synergy webinars? I felt like this was one that was really like practical for today, and pertinent to churches. And I think video can really be something, above all these reasons, video can be something that can really take our online discipleship to a new level. And at the end of the day, as churches, as ministries, as Christians, that's what we're all striving for, right? Is to make Jesus known. And so I think video is an opportunity for that, not only with people who are already believers and people already in our ministries and congregations, but with even more reach of people outside of that who are looking for answers. The outside of Google, YouTube is the number one, and YouTube and social media would be third, is the how people are searching for answers. And people will Google, what's my purpose in life, or is there a God, or things about the Bible, or whatever. And they'll go to YouTube with those same questions, and they'll go to social media with those same questions. And so I think it's important for us that kind of gets into like the why social media as a whole. But I think it also is pertinent for today as far as like why video, because this can reach people that are asking questions. Okay, so hopefully that made sense. I want to go into a little bit of kind of how and maybe some ideas for you. So the number one thing when I'm talking to pastors and ministries about social media is, in some capacity, whether it's like with Chi Alpha, it's like maybe a Friday night meeting, or if you're running a church, it's like a Sunday morning service. Somehow there is something live that's happening with somebody presenting in some kind of way. Even if it's like maybe a smaller house church or things like that, there's a form of presentation, and it can be the simplest, easiest thing to take that and make a video with it. After COVID, obviously, when tons of people were now streaming, or they're now recording their services and then posting them later, however that works for your church or your ministry, even if you're not recording or live streaming, everybody has, a phone, and you can, hit the record button. You can have one set up and just sitting there and record it, whatever it might be. But then you have, like, let's say it's a sermon, for example, you have probably 5 to 10 videos within that sermon that are super easy to cut up and make. There are ways within it that I would suggest to do it. So on YouTube, you can definitely post the whole sermon. I would, if I'm doing that with the whole thing, a sermon is, I don't know, 25 to 40 minutes, depending on, how long your pastor talks for. But you can post that on YouTube for sure as the whole video. I would encourage then to title it something that would be answering a question or asking a question that maybe you think other people would be asking. So for example, right now in my home church, we're doing a video or a series on the Bible, and it's just like basic Bible. It's literally called Bible 101. And one of the sermons was, our pastor did how to interpret the Bible correctly. And it was just an entire series or entire sermon on that. And so when we posted the video, instead of, like, okay, this is July 1st gathering or July 1st service, we wanted to title it something that people would be asking. So how do I interpret the Bible correctly? How do I know that I'm reading scripture right? How do I, whatever it might be that fits a question that you think somebody would ask. That is how you can title those videos to be seen. And again, like the views and being seen, it's not to puff us up, right? It's not to be like, oh, my church has like 7,000 views. That doesn't matter, except for the fact that there's real human beings attached to those views that are asking questions that the church and the Bible has answered to. And so if we're able to provide that for someone in, Tennessee or whatever, that may be just scrolling YouTube, that's never going to darken the doors of our church. To me, that's important that we're putting content out there, because the world's putting content out, right? That's answering questions that people are asking. I would rather, from a biblical perspective, that we're answering those questions and that the Bible's answering those questions for them. So when I'm saying views, that's kind of what I mean. I want to be clear that I'm not like, we're all going to be influencers and make lots of money after this. Okay. So with sermon clips, so like I said, you can post the whole thing, and that's fantastic. Instagram probably isn't going to let you post a 30-minute video. Probably shouldn't be posted a 30-minute video on Instagram anyways. But what you can do is take those smaller clips from your section. So like a lot of times pastors will have like 3 points, right? So each point there's 3 videos, shorter videos right there. Or sometimes at the end, right before like maybe an altar call, or right as they're wrapping up their video, there's some application points that you can put into a video. Often what I do, if you don't have a ton of like software on your computer, like I know Adobe does some things and like DaVinci and stuff like that. But if you don't have those things, often what I will just do is literally screen record part of the sermon. And it's like 1 or 2 minutes that I'm screen recording this. And then it records the sound, it records the person on the stage, and then I'm using that as my clip. You can, if you have the, like I think for Terry's church, they were recording, I don't know if you still are, but you were recording before during the week and then posting, your edited version. If you have that recording and you can crop it down in your programming, feel free to do that as well. And then you can make these little short form videos that people are like, if they're just scrolling through TikTok and it's like your 1 point about, within that same sermon of how to interpret the Bible, then it's like you have that 1 point and it's like a 2.5 minute, 2-minute reel. So yeah, so one sermon can do, I would say you can probably get 5 to 10 short form videos out of it. You can even do like even a worship service. Like if you wanted to just, put some text of like maybe a scripture from the sermon that week on the screen, and then you can have like the worship playing in the background or whatever. And from the one that's recorded on your stage if you stream your worship also. And it can just be something that you're like, you're inviting your church into what you're inviting your viewers into what your church is already doing and what they're already learning. So hopefully that made sense. Use your sermons. I think it's something that churches just have, like you're already doing. Like you literally, it takes, maybe, I don't know, 10 to 20 minutes more to, crop them down a little bit. The app will then do the work for you as far as like posting and captions. And if you want to add music or whatever, you don't have to like have fancy programs to do that. We'll get into that a little bit, but yeah, so use your sermons. That's the first thing I want to say. So I want to show you really quick when I'm talking about how you use the answers to what people are already asking, and how that content can be seen. So I want to share my screen really quick, and I have a couple different examples of some reels that we posted as a church. So this first one here is an announcement about a fundraiser that we were doing for our church. And this was a while ago, before a little bit before like some of our reels and stuff had picked up. So this is, but the example remains the same. This is like an advertisement, an announcement, something that maybe isn't going to get as many views, that maybe the algorithm isn't going to push as well. This next slide has some of what we've been doing lately, of how we're breaking down things that like would stop people from scrolling to see like, oh, that, would actually pertain to me. So the first one there with I don't know if you can see the numbers, but the first one on the far left with the black and white has almost 8,000 views. That's been our highest one, but it was literally just, I took just some clips from Pastor Trenton's sermon, put them together, and it was about a 2-minute reel that just had, it just had him, whatever we were talking about that day for the sermon. The one next to it with Allie's face, Pastor Allie's face, is a video that she recorded that wasn't from a sermon. It was just her talking about 3 ways to prepare for marriage. And that got quite a few views. The same things with Pastor Sarah's. You see 3 things to do with your kids at Easter, 3 scriptures for your kids. She's our kids pastor. So she'll record videos. That one's from her car. That one's from her bedroom, about the ways that parents can, engage with the Bible and their kids. And then the other 2 are ones from sermon series that we've done recently. So where should you start reading in the Bible, and how do I understand the Bible correctly? And so I wanted to show you these to show you the difference. So from going from an announcement, which only had like 42 views, to these, which are getting over 1,000 to 8,000 views, more people are seeing them, because it's not necessarily because I did anything, like we didn't pay to promote these. We weren't like, hey, watch our stuff. It was literally like Instagram and TikTok were doing the work for us, because it was things that people actually wanted to see. It was questions that they wanted answered. It was content that would actually be valuable to a bigger majority. And so, yeah, hopefully that makes sense. And you can see kind of the difference in those two things. So some tips on when you're doing your reels. So there'll be things I just want to share really quick that I think will help. And they're not difficult to do. They don't cost money, nothing like that. That will just kind of make it so that your reels are maybe reaching farther. You're having more success with what you're spending your time on. The first thing about short form video is the hook at the beginning. So when you're, making a reel and you're like, hey, I'm Pastor so-and-so, and I'm at this church in Oregon, and blah, blah, blah. That doesn't necessarily capture people in those first few seconds that you have to get them to stop scrolling. So if you want to talk later about your church, about where you're located, if you want to have on the bottom of the screen, maybe your name with your church, with the city where your church is in, or whatever, those things are totally fine. They can also, like, it should be in your bio on the page that, this video is coming from. But in those first few minutes where, somebody's sitting there just scrolling, we have to get them to stop the scroll and pay attention to what we're trying to present to them. And so the first thing that you want to do is kind of hook them. You can do this by like restating maybe the title. So like, how can I understand the Bible? Some people, if you watch videos, are like, they'll say something really shocking that's like, like why I gave up on Jesus. And then you're like, wait, this is from a church? And you're like, but then it's like, well, they're telling their testimony of when they were younger and they gave up on Jesus, and now they're not actually giving up on Jesus, but they kind of hook you with like this, like, like shock and awe type of thing. There's different ways, like how to not get divorced, or, something where you're like, creatively restating what your title is, that gets people to stop and listen. One of the things that I say is, not only are you doing this verbally, but I would encourage you to also do it with the words on the screen. So like TikTok allows you to put a title over the top of your video, like you saw in those ones that I showed you. The reels, you can put text in and it will last. You can click on how long you want it to last. Like, let's say I want that title to appear on the screen for like the first 5 to 10 seconds of my video, and then it'll disappear. So you can do that. And it will also, if people don't have the sound on, they can read what that hook is. So you have it verbally, you have it visually, and you're kind of getting people to halt and take a second to listen to what you're saying. Along with that, captions are super important. So not only is it accessible to more people that maybe can't hear, or maybe if they're like English as a second language, they oftentimes can read it before they can sometimes understand what you're saying verbally. And so the other thing is that more people are watching with no sound than they are with sound. So 69% of people watch with no sound, because they're scrolling in public, they're on public transportation, they're in the lobby of a doctor's office, they're at school, they're in the middle of your church service. I mean, whatever it might be, they're scrolling somewhere where they can't have sound on. And so if they have captions, they're like, that's the only way that they can take in what you're saying with no sound. And even with sound on, when they did a study, 80% of people are more likely to watch a video that has captions than to not. So all the platforms will do captions for you without you don't have to go through and like type the whole transcript of what somebody is saying. You don't have to do that at all. You literally click the little captions button on both Instagram and TikTok. They'll do it right for you. There's also apps that will do it for you if you want it to be done like maybe a different way, or have some of your things highlighted, or like maybe like make it look a little bit more dynamic. I've done 1 or 2 of those, like with a free trial for an app, and it looked great. I don't know that it was necessarily where it was something that I would pay for. That it was any like it was so much better than the free versions that TikTok and Instagram are offering me that I would need to pay. But you can decide for your church if that's something that would be good. The other thing is I forgot to mention there are on those same apps, there are apps that will take your sermons and you can upload the whole thing and then they'll cut 5 to 10 reels for you and you don't have to do it. Those vary in price, and I can if you want some of those websites, I can send them to you, and they'll kind of do the work for you. There some of them are super affordable. I think once you kind of get into like figuring out like which part of the sermon was like, oh, this would make a good reel, whatever, it doesn't take very long, and I don't know necessarily that you need to pay for it, but that's totally up to you. It's totally for you to decide. Okay. Another thing is to make sure that you're filming vertically as much as possible. Obviously with sermons, so most people are live streaming this way, right? They're live streaming horizontally, which is fine. You can post them like that. The one that we had, like I showed you of Pastor Trenton, that had about 8,000 views. His is horizontal. And I just added a background that made it vertical. I've posted them just horizontal and it's totally fine. But if you're recording just like of yourself, try and do it vertically and take up as much screen as possible. You're taking up more real estate on people's phones when they're scrolling. And it sometimes can just look better. You can also, depending on the quality of your live stream, you can zoom in and it can take up the whole screen that way. Not necessarily, people don't necessarily need to see like also your drum kit that's sitting over there and also your keyboard that's on the side. And like, so if it's quality enough and it's not going to be super, super blurry and wash everybody out, then you can zoom in on that and do it vertically. The only thing that I would caution people is that sometimes you'll see, if you're not careful, you'll see like captions over the top of now what's on the bottom with like your username and your, and then people aren't even able to see your captions. So be careful if you don't have any black space above or below the video to where your captions are going, to make sure that they're still readable for people. And again, the apps will show you like literally if I move the captions around on TikTok, it'll like pop up this little like, kind of transparency spot where it's like, hey, by the way, your copy and your username are going to be right here. So you might not want to put your captions there. So it's not like you have to memorize it. Speaking of copy, which also caption, it's just sometimes confusing because captions and caption. But so the part that describes your video that you're typing in before you post it is also known as copy or caption. That is, I would encourage you to keep it short, keep it sweet. People aren't necessarily like, unless you're like posting a big long recipe in it, people aren't necessarily going to read the whole thing. So if you kind of restate the hook of your video and just like a real quick, here's what we're talking about. I think that's kind of all you need. And then it's less work for you because you don't have to like, I need to sound really eloquent and like do this really long paragraph. Like you really don't need to. Okay, just a couple more things and then I'm gonna give you some ideas and then we'll go open it up for questions. I'm totally fine with at the end giving a call to action. So if you want to ask people, hey, follow us for more content like this video, I don't think that that's, some people are like, oh, that feels weird, right? Like this is a sermon. I don't know if I want to like, oh, follow us. But if you are, putting out content that's like, man, I really want people to know about, what's going on in the book of John. Like, I feel like this is something that people, if we're putting out content that we feel like people could benefit from, then I don't think it's wrong to be like, hey, follow us if you want to learn more about the Bible, or follow us if you like our content or whatever. If you're not comfortable with that, you don't need to. There's different ways you can do it. You can do it verbally. If you're not comfortable with that, then you can do it like something can pop up on the screen that says, like you can even like, I think you can circle the follow button on TikTok, or whatever, with like a little, GIF. And so then it will draw the eye. Oh yeah, okay, I can follow or whatever. So there's different ways to do it, whatever you're comfortable with. If you're not, it's totally not necessary. but it can help, get people like thinking, like after they've kind of been immersed in your video for a minute and they're like, oh yeah, I can follow them, or, oh yeah, I'd like to see more of their content. This is my favorite one because it makes it so much easier. Use the same video in all the places. Like there is no reason for you to be making a video that's just for TikTok, then to make a different one that's got to look different for Reels. No, like these videos, if you spend any time on like TikTok and Instagram, you will see the same exact video on both. And that is so smart because there's no reason for you to be doing it more than once. That's too much time. People are not going to know. They're not going to go to like, oh, this church's page and oh, your TikTok, that's the same as a reel. Like they're not going to get mad. It's a short form video. It can be on both. Use them on both. I don't make them twice. Sometimes depending on how you make it. So like, let's say you make it in TikTok. If you then try to download it from your page, it'll have your little TikTok watermark, which Instagram doesn't love because, it's taking you away from their app. But if you make it, if it's a video that you've just screen recorded on your phone and it's a native video from like a sermon or whatever, you can literally just bloop, post to Instagram, bloop, post to TikTok, and don't do it twice. Just don't. Okay, the last one that I want to talk about is music. So when TikTok started, it was supposed to be a music app. I was not right for very long. But one of the things that TikTok has done is if you can click on a sound, and Instagram does this now too, because they're kind of copying TikTok, which they should. But you can click on a sound that your video is connected to, and then you can go and see all of those videos that are connected to that sound. And so that's how like these trends are happening with like these stupid TikTok dances. Maybe it's just because I can't dance that I think they're dumb. But it's like these TikTok dances, you can go and you're like, wow, everyone is like doing this to the same song. And it's a way for your views, for your videos to be seen, especially when things are trending. There have been definitely times that I have used this feature and I have included a trendy song to my video. What I want to caution you with music is that obviously there's music out there that isn't, wonderful as far as like lyrics and message. I know of a youth group that used a song that in the just 15 seconds of their reel had no cuss words. It was not gross. It was not anything. But if you went later in the song, it was kind of nasty. And while that wasn't the part that was playing in their reel, there were people within their church that knew the song from the radio or whatever and knew it was kind of gross. And they were a little bit upset that this song was used for a youth group reel. Now, I'm not going to tell you if it's right or wrong for them to use that song. That's entirely for, y'all and them to decide. But I just want to caution you when it comes to music. I try, especially with sermons where there's so many words happening anyways, I try to find something that's like an instrumental with no words in the back, and not instrumental like we're going to go to sleep like Enya or whatever, but like where it's like there's so many different instrumental ones of like, bright and happy and hip hoppy or whatever that you can put. If it's maybe a more, like solemn, I guess, part of your sermon, that's not really the right word I'm looking for, but maybe a more like intense moment of your sermon, you can definitely do one that is a little bit more subdued and instrumental in that way. So music is a big part of short form video. Just be careful with, how you do it. Be cautious with it. The other thing that I will add is that TikTok will let you pretty much put any song that you want, popular or not, instrumental or not, well-known or not. If you are a business account on Instagram, they have 3 kind of accounts. You can be a private, like a personal account, a business account, and a creator account. If you are a business account, which a lot of churches are, because the creator account is kind of a newer thing, your selection of songs is limited. So for whatever legal reasons of them having to pay or whatever for businesses using music, your selection will be smaller. If you want to change it to a content creator account, I don't think that your congregation will necessarily know, and then you'll have a lot more selection of songs. That's just a little tidbit. If you're like, why am I not able to see like, this newest song on there? That's kind of why. Okay. I'm going to give you some ideas and then I'm going to open it up for questions. I want to share, I have a lot more ideas than this, and I'm not going to give you them all because that would be absolutely ridiculous. But if you want ideas for reels and short form video, I have a whole plethora that has pages and pages of ideas. I took out a few that I think would be beneficial for us for today. I won't go through all these, but you can kind of see and you can write down ones that maybe you're like, oh, that would be kind of cool to try. Obviously outside of your sermons and like your worship services, anything behind the scenes people love to see. So if Sunday morning you get there like half an hour early, and there's maybe like a prayer time with everybody before the coffee machine is getting ready, or the kids team is setting out crayons, anything like that where you're kind of, you know, scanning around your church to see this stuff is interesting for people. Anytime that you can share testimonies is great. So this would require obviously maybe you setting up with someone like after church, can I snag you really quick and just record, like, you know, God provided financially for you this week and I just want to share that with our church congregation. Those are great. Frequently asked questions with a pastor. This can be all kinds of pastors. If you have kids pastor on staff, worship pastor, youth pastor, they can answer, you know, questions about camp, or, you know, what should my student be doing this summer to be more spiritually engaged or biblically engaged. There's that one's kind of endless, and it's really, I think people really enjoy seeing their pastor kind of in that format and see them in that way. Missionary spotlights, ministry spotlights. These are just highlighting things that are in your church, missionaries you support, maybe missionaries that have come out of your church, ministries that are happening, like, hey, did you know we have a greeting team? And you literally just, you know, could stand at the door and say hi to people and smile. Sometimes this can help people know like where they can get involved and serve, but it also introduces faces that maybe are at the front of the door. There's all kinds of like numbered lists you can do, like your 3 favorite verses about joy, or, you know, 3 ways that I battle anxiety, or what does the Bible say about, you know, what are the top 2 things the Bible says about money or sex, or, you know, whatever. And these could be done by anybody within, you know, that you trust, obviously, maybe a pastor on staff, a board member, a ministry lead, maybe, you know, if it's like a youth group or a college setting, it's like maybe some of your student leaders can do it. Exploring the sacraments. This sounds a lot more formal than it is. It's just like, hey, did you know that this is what we believe about communion? Did you know this is what water baptism is for? Did you know this is what the Bible says about communion? We still, you know, I still know some of my my ministry students that are like, they'll come from a non-AG background and they're like, do you guys believe that turns into blood? And we're like, no. And so like sometimes people don't know, you know, when they're coming into your church, what the Assemblies of God you know, views communion as versus a different denomination. Anytime that you're doing any outreaches, any missions trips, those are for sure ones that you should take. Just like, it doesn't even need to be like somebody sitting in front of a camera talking about it. It can just be like people have their phones out anyways, and it's like, oh, we're, you know, helping with this mission trip. We're building a house in Mexico, and we're just taking videos of during the week, and you put it together for a minute long, just highlight reel of that. Any church pictures you can, you know, there's it doesn't have to be just video happening. There's a lot of reels where it's just like almost like a photo dump of photos that people that will just kind of scroll or slideshow through. And even like one of my favorite ones is city prayer points. So like if you want to do, you know, go by the Capitol building, you know, my church is in Salem. If I want to go by the Capitol building in Salem, then I can, you know, I can just drive by real quick when I'm on my way to somewhere else, take a short video of the Capitol building and like, hey, let's pray for our governor today, you know, or whatever. So those are just some of the ideas. Again, if you want those, I can email those out when this is done. I have, I think, a document that's like 4 pages long of just all kinds of ideas for you. Yeah, so I think that's the end of me talking. Everyone is excited. And if you want to open it up for questions, I think I saw a couple in here that let's look and see. Anna says, any thoughts on how often we should post a video since they're so effective? Every day, once a month, once a week, how much is too much? That's a really good question. What I would encourage is for people to do it. I would strive for once a week to start out with, see how much time it takes you, see if it's like, man, this is something that I feel like I could figure out, that I could do easily. With that being said, don't get discouraged if like the first couple of times you're kind of fumbling through trying to figure out how to do it. It took me a minute to figure out like, okay, this is the caption button and whatever. But as you get going in it, like I said, especially if you're using like a sermon or like a Friday night thing with Chi Alpha, or if you have like a weekly gathering type of thing, that could be like 5 right there. And I'm not saying that you just have to saturate your social media with like 5 days a week I'm posting, like, listen to what we're saying. No, that's not. But if you can get to like 3 a week as a church or a ministry, I think that would be really, really awesome. It would tell the algorithm and also the people within your ministry, like, hey, we are staying present, we're active, we're doing this, but without having to like take up your entire life. You can also schedule them to be posted. So you didn't used to be able to schedule reels. I do not post reels every single day just natively. Like, I do not have time for that. So I will, if I have a sermon that let's say I've made 3 reels out of it, I will schedule them ahead of time. And then I'm not even having to worry about them going out. They are going out while I am, doing whatever else I'm doing. So that's a lifesaver when you're doing these, is don't take up all your time with posting them, schedule them out. So hopefully, Anna, that answered your question. Anyone else have any questions? Rosa. I love Rosa.
Hey, can you?
Yes, Terry.
Hi,
I can hear
Brittany.
you.
I'm trying to work and do this all at the same time.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I work for my brother 3 days a week, and he's a slave driver. No. So I know, we have been told that, to kind of have a color theme, on your stuff that isn't video.
Yeah.
Is that a thing still?
A
Do we
color
need to
theme?
worry about that? Yeah.
I would say it's kind of
Maybe on your captions.
yeah, maybe like if you're like, so for example, our Bible 101 series is the graphic that we're using for it is orange, like orange and gray. And so I've kind of tried to keep like things within the video in that same color scheme, just because like what's up on the screen behind them in the video from what I'm screen recording is kind of orange, right? So like I don't want it to necessarily clash. But people aren't going to your actual profile as often. If they're maybe like, oh, what is this about? And then they'll click on it. But the chance of them like scrolling and scrolling and scrolling through your posts is not really happening as much as it used to be, especially like on Instagram, with stories being so popular, and being primarily how people interact on Instagram these days. So that's a long way of answering and saying probably not. I mean, I try sometimes to keep things, maybe not. I'm more worried about like if I'm using a ton of pinks and stuff that would maybe really feminize, and maybe then men aren't as comfortable with my, sharing maybe what we're doing, or the other way where it's like, so maybe, I don't know, like metal and masculine and whatever, that like then women are like, oh. So I try to keep things a little bit neutral. If I'm using color, I'll in the same vein of either the series that we're doing or like our church color. But I don't think it's necessarily like as important as it used to be when that was kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
If that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. Thank you. This was great.
Oh, thank you. So there is one more slide I want to show you just really quick of some resources that I think would be helpful. So this book is called Metachurch, and I just finished reading it this year, How to Use Digital Ministry to Reach People and Make Disciples. This is a newer book that just came out, and he is the online digital pastor at North Point Church, where Andy Stanley is the lead pastor. So it's a big church, but he has worked in tiny churches, he's worked in giant churches, he's done all kinds of stuff. And this was one of the most helpful books for me as far as digital ministry as a whole. And not just for video, but he does have a pretty big section on video. So if you have time for a church, I know it's on Audible, you can listen to it. I got the physical copy because I took some notes and highlighted things and whatever. But that's a really, really good resource for digital ministry and for video. The other thing is Brady Shearer is Pro Church Tools, and he has a podcast, a website, a TikTok, a Facebook, Instagram. He has all the things, and he is a really, really great resource. I like to even just, his TikTok, just seeing, really short things for churches and not even having to listen to a whole podcast or a whole YouTube. But those are both really great resources that I would encourage you to look at for more things. There are obviously tons of YouTubers and stuff that you can go on and they can give you all kinds of ideas. This is not like the end all be all to everything. And I don't even know everything. I'm still, I'm always learning about what's new. There's one app that I forgot to put on that screen that I think would be helpful, and it's free. It's called CapCut, CapCut. And it's free. It'll do a lot of the things that you need it to, as far as captions, as far as titles on the screen. Then you can make your video in that and upload it to both without having to have your TikTok watermark in there. And Instagram and TikTok kind of work alongside CapCut, so they don't hate it. So they're not gonna they'll still promote your reel. But what it also has is a whole bunch of templates. And so there are all kinds of things so it's like, man, if I want to try, I just made a one for camp, and I had a whole bunch of pictures from last year's summer camp, and I was like, I don't necessarily want to time all this and put up all I would have to maybe on a TikTok. I literally put 24 pictures in a CapCut, and it went and it does them all nice and cool looking, and and times them for me. So if CapCut, that one's free, you can do. And I would encourage you, if you're kind of getting I don't know what exactly I'm doing, or I'm out of ideas, or I don't have time to come up with ideas, which I get, then that is one that is helpful for you. Has more, I think, more user-friendly templates than even TikTok.
That's helpful for me as someone that potentially would take over our social media again, but doesn't necessarily want to spend a lot of time on the app itself. So
Yeah.
It's good to know that you can make it separately, but then you don't have to be on the app or even have it on your phone as much.
Right.
That's helpful.
Benny, you were saying that you're not as familiar with TikTok or Instagram. I can definitely send you some video resources. I think if you're good with video, or even some website sources if you'd rather read them, of things that would be kind of beginner steps to the Instagram and Reel platform, or Instagram and TikTok platforms. There are people that are way smarter than me and have way better video than I do, that can really, really break it down, that I've sent out to people. So if you're cool with me emailing you those, then I will get those for you. And then if you have any questions from there, then you can definitely feel free to ask, and we can go there. And then and then Shea, and I'll just email out the ideas to everybody, and you can take what you want or not open the email, or whatever you like. So
sounds good. I have a question in regards to the technical side of it. I know a lot of times with smart smartphones, it's hard to live stream. Like in our situation, our sanctuary is very deep, and the people who do our live streaming,
Mhm.
they have the smartphone up on an elevated mic stand. And
Right.
we basically look like ants on the platform. There's not really, you can't see a lot of detail. And the, you know, the sound is horrible. And do you have any recommendations as to different equipment, or should I just take my smartphone and stick it on the pulpit? Or I don't know.
Well, if you're using a phone, you know, without being like, go out and buy a really nice camera because it's really expensive. Really from the back of the room, it's going to be really difficult to capture what you need to capture with the phone. If you can even put like, so it's not a distraction. It's not like right in the middle pew and it's like, you know, now 2 rows are taken out by my phone. I have seen it done well where it's to the side. So if there's maybe a side where, you know, maybe there's less people, or you have, you know, just like, so it's coming from kind of an angle like this. But then that way it can be a lot closer to the stage. Really for phones, I wouldn't suggest putting them back any farther than maybe like 2 or 3 rows would be kind of as far back as I would go. You can get, like you said, like you know, if it has like a microphone stand that's taller that can, you know, just that can view right up to the stage from, you know, from right in front of that first pew or first chair. And I think coming from the side, so it's not distracting the people actually in the room. But then it's closer so that the people that are outside the room can also hear and they can also see. You can also get, if you have a little bit of money to spend, you can get a microphone that you can plug into the headphone jack of your phone and maybe have right there on the pulpit or right there on the mic stand that's closer. And that's way cheaper than trying to buy like a new camera or video equipment or whatever. But then having the sound is going to be helpful. David, you do a lot of the video and all that too. So maybe if you want to add something that I missed as far as equipment goes.
I think you covered it. Don't underestimate the importance of sound with video. In fact, sound is as important as the picture. They say people will stay tuned in if the sound is okay. They'll stay tuned in even if the video is poor. But if the audio is poor, it doesn't matter how good the picture is, they're not going to stay with you that way. So I would definitely prioritize. Brittany's right. There's some long microphones, some stuff that way that you can do. And she's right, just to get that camera closer so that you can obviously see it at more definition. Those would be 2 easy, kind of low expense things that you could probably do.
And it also, when it's closer, it helps people feel like they're maybe a little bit more like a part of the room. Whereas if you have it all the way in the back, then they can kind of see like, oh, there's all, you know, the chairs and I'm not in them, and there's all the people and I'm not, you know, like, so it can also be helpful to have them closer because it's like, oh, I'm kind of maybe sitting in this chair with people, you know, watching this happen and feel a little bit more part of it. So. Yeah.
Any other questions
I
for
will
Brittany? Go ahead, Shay.
Sorry, I was just gonna say it is kind of a little bit like if you give a mouse a cookie when it comes to like when you start doing live stream stuff in services. I you just start going down this little rabbit hole of, oh, we can add this, But I 1000% agree on the audio, and that is not happening well with the church plant that we have in Addis right now. And I'm far away and not able to help, and I'm like trying to not get involved, and it's painful, but I can't bring myself to even watch it because it's so bad right now. So audio is important. I know that.
Yes.
Any other questions for Genius Brittany? I think that's a good title. Our
I feel
resident
like that's
genius.
a little over the top. But can I add one more thing that I forgot to say? I want to encourage like churches and stuff to share the videos of ministries and stuff around you. So like, for example, if Shea is making videos from Ethiopia, as you know, part of her mission stuff, you know, if you're a church that supports her, or you know, a church within the AG, like share that to your story, and help people. You know, like one of the things, I coach basketball at the high school here, and one of the things that we did with our basketball, I have an Instagram and stuff for them. And I just started sharing, like whenever football would post, or when the soccer team would post, or when, you know, and then everybody started sharing everybody's. And the principal called me and was like, I appreciate you doing that, because now it feels like more like as a community, and like our students are on social media, and now they kind of know, you know, they're not coming to me as much like, hey, I didn't know there's a soccer game, or you know, like whatever. And that was literally, I didn't have to make anything for the football team. I shared the football team stuff. And it can be the same as churches. Like, if, you know, missionaries are out there like trying to do, you know, trying to show what they're doing, and they're far away, and they're like, oh, I have to show everybody in America, you know, or the stuff with Chi Alpha, especially when we're raising money for them right now. And even other churches, other ministries within your, you know, your vicinity and your region, just, you know, promoting it that way. And that's literally just a click of a button, you know, share to your story, and you don't have to create anything. So, Anna, did you have one more question? Was it Anna that said it?
Yeah. And I mean, I'd love to hang out with you one-on-one at some point and ask you these questions, but you guys
Yes.
know my boss, you know, my boss, Christian Anderson. He
Yes.
is the most anti-social media person I've ever met. And it's
Yeah.
come up twice now in our staff meetings, like, do we really need a social media? And I'm like, yes, Christian, yes. But I was just curious a little bit more of like, if you have like 3 main bullet points, because you said at the beginning of this meeting, oh, we all know social media is important, but and engaging with video and things like that. But I was just curious if you have like 3 bullet points, if you were to sit down with Christian, my boss, you know, and be like, here's why this is so important for this next generation, especially since we're working with college students, also college students coming out of COVID, where they were
Yeah.
on their phones. And I've seen such a negative effect
Yeah.
of TikTok and of social media on our college students. So many more coming in phone addicted, so many are more coming in with a ton more insecurities. I've been in campus ministry for 5 years now, and even seeing the freshmen come in this last year, I was like, they were the COVID kids.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I was just curious, like, if you were to sit down with Christian, like, what are the 3 bullet points you would say of why it's so important?
Yeah. I mean, I have a whole thing, so I'm like trying to like, how do I narrow this down in, you know, 2 minutes? Which
Yeah.
definitely, anytime you want to get coffee, I'll come to Corvallis. But
Oh my gosh, I would love that.
and I can send you some stuff too of like that's just, you know, broader for, you know. But I think, like you said, like the biggest thing is it's not just even Gen Z or the next generation that's coming that's on social media. Everybody is on
Yeah.
social media. And the amount of hours and time that people spend scrolling, and you're right, the amount of negativity and stuff that it can have on people is huge. And I know that a lot of pastors and stuff will say to me, well, you know, man, it's like for people's self-esteem and this and that, and like it's such, it can be such a negative place. But then to me, that's incentivizing me to be there, because I think that we can bring, like anywhere else that's dark, we can bring light. And if all of those who are, you know, biblically based and believers and whatever back out of it because of the negative, then the place where people are 168 hours, you know, during your week that you're not with somebody for like the 2 hours that you have a gathering, and then 168 other hours, if we're not in those 168 hours anywhere, then I don't think that we're doing our job. Like nowhere in scripture is it say that the Sunday gathering or, you know, whatever is the end all be all. And so I think that we have to be present where the people are. And in the book of Acts, they obviously, you know, weren't on Instagram, but the you know, they were, the church was where the people were. And for us nowadays, especially post COVID, it's where the people are. And there's so much, the world is gotten smaller because of social media and because of the internet, in that you can have a video from Ethiopia all the way to Corvallis, all the way to Jacksonville, all the, you know, like everywhere. Like I can go on and see a video from all over the world. And if we can reach people in our own backyard in the world without ever having to spend money without ever having to send anybody, without anybody having to move. Now, does this replace missionaries? Absolutely not. Like, Shayna, don't like crucify me. Like, this does not replace those people that are going physically, but it's one more thing that we can do as a church and as Christians, like sending our money, sending our prayers, all those types of things. We can also then be out into the world where people are. And like I said, like, so like outside of Google, which is that, like, obviously, I mean, I don't even remember what we did before Google. Like, how did I ever find out any information? But like outside of Google, YouTube and social media are where people are searching for things. It's literally search engine for products, for answers, for services, for businesses. Like, everything is happening through that. And so if we're not there, and we're not there to provide answers, we're not there to like, hey, we're a church in your town. Hey, we're a ministry in your town. Hey, if you're coming to OSU, like, did you know that there's this group of believers on campus? Sometimes people aren't going to find out. Like, it's not like flyers and things like that are just like, oh yeah, like people are reading these, and anyways, I feel like that was longer than 2 minutes. And I don't know that I gave you just 3 bullet points, but I have, like, I'm totally down. I'll text you, and like, we can chat about this. Cause I know Christian, like, he doesn't even have a smartphone, which God bless him. Like, 2023, the man doesn't even have a smartphone, but, we can definitely talk about, some of these things. Cause I do think it's really important. Obviously, I'm a little bit passionate about it. So
Yeah. Thank you so much. That was really helpful. And I love Christian. He has many,
yeah.
many
He's
blessings to give.
absolutely.
I just give him a hard time.
I'm more impressed that he doesn't have a cell phone than I am
Oh, yeah.
than I am knocking on him, because it's like, that's impressive.
Yeah, it is.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for joining us. Brittany, excellent. It's great to hang out. If there are follow-up questions you guys have, feel free to reach out to Brittany or to myself or Jeremy, anyone on our team. We are here and we're glad to serve you guys however we can in that way. We'll send out a link with the recording to this webinar, and we'll attach that document from Brittany with all those links and resources along with it. Yeah, appreciate you guys. We're thankful for the ministry you're doing across our state and around the world. Thank you, and we're here for you. So thanks for being here. Have a
Thanks,
blessed day.
guys.
Take care.